So, are you as hyped by this title as I am? I don't know. I kind of expected that this would be happening soon. I didn't realize it would be this soon. I know almost nothing about the implementation yet. Also, hi YouTube. We're recording now. I see Cyrillic. I do too, and I cannot read it. Say hi to YouTube. YouTube can actually see you now. Let's hop into things, shall we? This does look like a pretty short dev diary, so hopefully we'll be able to get through it without spending an hour and a half like we do sometimes. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm here to welcome you to a special kind of development diary. It's the first of a series, but the rest will come later and not in the following weeks. Boo. We're working on a comprehensive system for the Nomads of the Steppe, and while we're knee-deep in the production of the expansion, we want to introduce you to the features as soon as possible, with the aim of collecting feedback and acting on it during our approaching iteration phase. Yay. When were the Scythians in their prime? I think before the scope of the game. Like Roman, like during the time of the Roman Imperial time. Scythians are my go-to Cyrillic nomads. Did they use Cyrillic? I didn't know that. And no, Huffy, I'm not multi-screaming. I'm just recording this for YouTube. It means good morning in Mongolian. Ooh. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but I'm too American and I haven't studied anything about how to pronounce Mongolian. Or most, I was going to say most Turkic languages, but Mongolian's not Turkic. Or most North Asian languages. For that reason, we're showing screenshots earlier than usual, so do keep in mind that all shown here is a work in progress. Usual caveat. Don't they have their own script too? They have several. So, not to get distracted here, but I believe that the Mongolic language can use any combination of like 4 different scripts. Because there's there's some that uses the Chinese script. There's some that uses a native script, and there's some that uses Cyrillic, and I almost want to say that there's a 4th, but I don't remember what it is. I definitely know those 3, depending on where the language is spoken and what time, but even up till recently. We did drop a couple frames there, but it seemed to stabilize immediately, so I'm going to keep an eye on that, and we'll hope it doesn't become a problem. Therefore, some small caveats. Layouts, visuals, and other aspects of the UI may change as we continue to refine those systems, of course. The map setup is also not final, and we're open to feedback. All values and numbers, as always, are still subject to balancing, and some of them are mere placeholders while we work on the features. This is an overview of the next DLC. The following dev diaries will go more into depth about all features at a later date. We need time to act on the feedback we get to you, so dev diaries for this update will not be releasing weekly just yet. So it's a step up from Japanese. Well, I don't think Mongolian uses 3 scripts in simultaneously. I think they use one of 3. Unlike Japanese, which uses, I would argue, 4 scripts interchangeably, because it also uses the Latin script alongside kanji, hiragana, and katakana. I'm being a nerd now. Okay, so this is as far as I got. Before I was like, I'm not going to spoil anything else for myself. But what I saw was I saw these little... I saw nomadic, and I saw that there was another color, and I was like... And I looked at what that said, and I thought it was interesting. They're introducing 2 governments, it seems like. And I got very excited. And Arabic. For Mongolian? Oh, Arabic numbers. That's true, actually, yeah. Although they use the Latin versions of Arabic numerals. Because they are drawn slightly differently in Europe than actual Arabic. At the core of this update lies the new nomadic government. This new government type is heavily inspired by the rulers of the Eurasian steppe and puts a heavy emphasis on herd, might, and land. But what do we mean by that? Let's peek at this. So yeah, I noticed there apparently is a herder government type. Egyptian numerals are cool too. I don't know much about Egyptian numerals. I don't know what a herder government is necessarily. Is this like almost like a peasant government? Is it more localized than nomadic? You know, follow the herds to different grazing grounds, but stay fairly local, as opposed to nomadic, which is really moving all over? I don't know. Very curious. Very curious about all of this. Super excited that they're adding this, though. Herd. Your cattle and horses are represented by a new currency, only available to nomads, called herd. In the steppe, herd is incredibly valuable and plays a big role in how other nomads perceive you. Oh. It can be used for ransoming, dowry, bribes, and even stolen via a scheme or raiding. Yes. It controls who the cultural head is and serves as a gate for increasing dominance. Talk about this later in the diary. For some reason, the idea of herd makes me think of an old game that I played called... oh my god, what was it called? What was that game called? I just remember that you played as a... You played a small tribe in a fantasy setting, and one of the main mechanics was your cattle herds, and you could go on cattle raids against your neighboring tribes. I'm gonna have to look that up. It was an incredibly fun game. Haven't they also said something along the lines that Republic governments are going to get overhauled? I believe so, yes. I don't know if they've given us a time frame, however. So excited for stream and Dev Diary. Nomads do sound so cool. I know. Right? Herd is obtained both through the land and by exploiting its fertility, and through your nomadic subjects via their contracts, since nomads don't have a stable income. We'll talk more in depth about this in the land section below. One of the main changes when it comes to nomads is they do not use levies. Instead, they transform a percentage of their horde into horde riders. Transform a percentage of their herd into horde riders. This is very similar to how CK2 did it. But this might be... Biggest worry is what text they'll get. Yeah, if they're locked out of... If they're stuck in the tribal era, like tribes are, that would be really unfortunate. Think the livestock also catch disease? I hope so. Horde riders are the most basic type of men-at-arms that nomads have access to. They're man-at-arms. However, these riders can be then upgraded to better men-at-arms type for the cost of gold. These numbers don't come from a vacuum, however. If you want to create 100 horse archers, then I will lose 100 Horde Riders as they are converted into the new unit. Great. Makes sense. Basic Horde Riders don't have an associated maintenance cost, but the other men-at-arms do in the form of prestige. So they're raised by Herd, upgraded with gold, and maintained with prestige? That's super interesting. We opted for this change because warring was an essential part of steppe life, and levies did not exist per se, as every available warrior would be called when the time was needed. From a more mechanical standpoint, we wanted nomads to have fewer but stronger and more significant men-at-arms, similar to how they did with the Empire. Do they count as light or heavy cavalry? I wonder that too. Okay, so Herd, there's a number out of max, monthly change. Nomadic Horde, 60%. What is that? Is that the land controlled is nomadic? This many Horde Riders will be raised alongside your army. I would assume, Kohler, that they're raised, that they count as light cavalry, but I'm not sure. Yeah, for how rough of a start CK3 has had, I think they've done a really impressive job of keeping the game fresh for those of us who keep up with the DLCs, which, I get it. It's an expensive... Any of their games are expensive to maintain, but... as the meme says, I already play a video game. If I just spend all my money on Crusader Kings instead of 6 different games a year, I'm spending the same amount of money. The percentage depicted in the screenshot above represents what percentage of your herd can be converted into Horde, as not all of them are mounts suitable for war. This percentage can be affected by yurt buildings, dynasty perks, character modifiers, and other factors. Okay, so only 60% of your horde are warhorses. Or less, to be honest. It could, yeah, honestly. Especially with the, I really do think that the, what are they called? Warhorses or horses. Meeple. I really think the season passes are definitely worth it for this game. I think it was a smart move from them. Oh, here we go. I think we can see who the Horde Riders are. Extremely work in progress. We're aware of some issues like the maintenance cost not being displayed. Okay. So Horde Riders do take the place of levies entirely. You have knights and accolades. And then you can upgrade. Steppe Riders, Nomad Lancers. Steppe Raiders, excuse me. Which are probably light cav. Nomad Lancers are probably heavy. Horse Archers are horse archers. And then the... I can't quite read this on my screen. Mangudai, or I assume are just a cultural horse archer. Hope we get to see more interesting malices and her bonuses to only having one martial and culturally accepted gender. Ooh, interesting. That's so much blatantly better. Yeah, I'd like to see a balance for that too. Aesthetic-only content that's skipped can save a lot too. That's true, which reminds me, I think I might have to get the one outfit pack that I don't have yet once my next paycheck clears. To reflect the importance of your people, the names on a nomadic map are also different from our regular naming conventions. It is the Borgian Mongols that move across the map, not the Duchy of Urgu. The cultural head gets to take the cultural name, the Mongols, while the smaller rulers have a combination of their house name plus culture, the Borjigin Mongols, to better reflect the dynamics of the steppe. We have also changed the way that the cultural head is selected in nomadic governments. The ruler with the biggest herd becomes the head instead, independently of their title. What religions do the Mongols follow? I think most of the area in most of the start dates is Tingri, but it's pretty mixed actually. The names on the map, as well as this naming convention using culture, are still a work in progress, and we're open to hear your suggestions. Note that we may remove the to make the titles more readable. The Urats, the Naimans, the Karats, Borjin Mongols, Kyrgyz, the Tolmel Kyrgyz, the Olbel Kyrgyz. Yeah, I could see what they mean. I mean, some of these names are pretty hard to read. I'm noticing these are not... Are these independent counties that are getting local names, perhaps? Over here in this area? You can't see my mouse, right? Good. Curious about that. Might. In the steppe, might makes right. Titles are not as important as actual strength, and to reflect this, we've made a series of changes that only affect nomads. Another one. Nomadic rulers have access to dominance, a measurement of their perceived power. Low dominance implies a relatively insignificant chieftain, while the maximum dominance represents the rise of Genghis Khan. Sure. Dominance is a fixed scale, a mountain that nomads have to climb, with each level being a herd-achieved goal that each ruler must work towards. Only those who have a herd of significant amounts enough size are allowed to reach the next level. Dominance affects things such as vassal and domain limits, with the lower level having very reduced numbers of both vassal and domain limits. Oh! But with higher levels offering impressive bonuses. Dominance also governs the tiers that you're allowed to target during your migration. More on this in land. Governs the tiers that you're allowed to target during your migration. Okay. Your access to special men-at-arms, title and vassal revocation, settlement outside of the steppe, flavorful decisions, and more. Am I right thinking the Islamic dynastic kingdoms don't have the... You're correct, yes. I don't know why they're trying it here, honestly. It's not just Islamic. I think it's actually, generally it's culture-based on whether or not they decide that a realm is named after the title or the dynasty. But yeah, the dynastic names just do not have the, so I'm not sure. Obedience. You'll need loyal followers if you're going to take over the world, and it does not matter by what means you've ensured their loyalty. Okay? Obedience is a binary state. Either you're obedient or you're not. Every character that's a subject or courtier has obedience towards their overlord. Obedience works as a threshold. If a character is below the threshold, then they will be unruly, plotting against their overlord, or having general acceptance malices to various interactions. However, if a character is above the threshold, then they will not form factions, start hostile schemes against their liege, and more importantly, will take their side during the Kulatai succession by voting for whichever heir has your preferred one. The Kulatai is formed by special members of your council, and having them on your side is extremely important for nomads. I'm so on the fence about this change. I mean, it works like, I guess they're rolling like threatened vassals and opinion into one. Oh, is this general change? No, I think this is unique to nomads. Obedience is calculated based on several parameters like the relationship with the other character, friendship, traits, and whether you've granted them a Kultai or court position. I need to know more about this. I'm very skeptical about this change, about this addition. I'm very skeptical about the fact that it's binary, and I'm not... I just need more information, and I'm not sure what questions I need to ask yet to get that information. Like, does dread factor into this? Is dread even an issue? How much does opinion matter? What is the threshold? How easy is it for someone to go above or below the threshold? How much does that change? I just have a lot of questions. If you make a nomad angry, do they stop wandering around? Because they're mad? Because they're nomad? Nomads grow their herd by extracting fertility from the land. Thus, migrating becomes an important part of their loop in the early stages of the game, where their realms are not big enough to accommodate the horde. Okay, I'm worried about this, because I remember how it worked in EU4. County fertility is calculated primarily based on the terrain type. Nomads deplete fertility of the counties they hold until it stabilizes at a fixed number where the herd can be maintained. The number is mostly affected by the domain size, but stewardship, dynasty perks, yurt buildings, and other character modifiers can affect it. Okay, so fertility stabilizes. That's a good start. Affected by domain size. Until it stabilizes at a fixed number where the herd can be maintained. Until the herd stabilizes at a fixed number, or until the fertility stabilizes at a fixed number? I'm concerned. I'm really interested, but I'm concerned. I mean, anything to force nomads to keep moving, obviously. To force the hordes to move around. That's the whole point. But, but obviously the way that nomadic tribes worked in EU4 is not a good solution, and I want to make sure that they're not falling into that trap again. I have something in my throat. Ah, that's better. When the domain fertility is depleted, it's time to migrate. Migration targets de jure titles, and the available title tiers you can target depends on your level of dominance. A nomadic ruler of dominance level 2 can only target counties and duchies, whereas someone with level 3 can target kingdoms as well. This means that smaller rulers should migrate frequently. Either find abandoned lands occupied by herders. Okay. Understood. This is all coming together for me now. Or subjugate themselves before bigger rulers. Bigger rulers in the steppe should, on the other hand, adopt a more sedentary way of life and demand obedience and tribute from rulers in their sphere. So, how do the herders work? Are the herders playable? Do the herders fight back when you migrate into their land? Interesting. This panel is subject to reorganization and reworks. So migration from to county fertility, involved characters, your herds, y'all nomads. You lose this title, you gain this title. This guy becomes independent. Oh, send gold to increase acceptance. Send herd to increase acceptance. Would not accept. Okay. Interesting. Can't wait for the mod that makes the entire world herders except with a few small pockets of other government types. Yeah. The migration screen allows you to negotiate with the local ruler. See, I was thinking this was a CB. If 2 or more independent rulers occupy the same de jure territory... Oh. Then the ruler with the highest herd leads the negotiations with you. You can use gold, herd, or a hook to bribe them, and their acceptance depends on the relationship with you, your dominance level relative to theirs, your prestige, prowess, herd size, their traits, and other minor factors. If they accept, you start a travel plan that will take you and your herd to their desired location. If the location had already been suggested by perhaps a courtier, you may get some extra bonuses for following the desires of your people. Okay, so this is the camp, I guess. In terms of roads to power. However, many nomads may refuse to give up their lands, especially if they have a high level of dominance and find themselves pretty comfortable where they are. In those cases, one must resort to war. Total soldiers aren't being calculated. Keep in mind this is from a development build. Okay. War. Camp migration to the High Chiefdom. Migration wars allow the attacker to take their lands by means of force. The targeted ruler will either be displaced to other lands if they hold any titles outside of the de jure, or be made landless, similar to administrative noble families or adventurers. While landless, nomads keep their yurts and upgrades, but can't grow their herd due to the lack of stable access to fertility. They roam the steppe in search of a new place to set up their tents. Oh. Cool. That's interesting. No matter how you choose to migrate, your obedient vassals will follow you, while non-obedient ones will keep their titles and lands and stay where they were. Obedient vassals will follow you, non-obedient ones will stay where they were. The lands that you leave behind will be occupied by someone else entirely. Right, herders. Nomads are not the only rulers that inhabit the steppe. A new unplayable government type, unfortunate, called herder, populates the map with shepherds that wander small counties. Herders replenish fertility over time and are extremely easy to displace, given their lack of armies. They're the ones occupying those counties left behind by migrations. Huh. Having a herder as a subject is still possible, however, and they will pay a small fixed rate of their herd based on their county's fertility. One may also choose to voluntarily abandon one of their counties to a local herder in the hopes that they will replenish fertility quick enough for them to seize it back. The steppe is not merciful, however, and another nomad ruler may be faster than you. Okay. Interesting. We indeed have several sheep variations. Biggest news of this dev diary right here. Several variations of sheep. I didn't even like... Look at this dude. This is a great model. I love this. This is better than completely uncolonized or some of the other options. I agree, yeah. This is a great sheep model. I'm a big fan. Ooh. The Great Steppe. Life in the steppe is not easy, and being at the mercy of weather and pasture quality is something that nomads have had to adjust to since time immemorial. Up to this day, in fact. To reflect this, we've created a seasonal system that governs the general climate of the steppe. The Great Steppe is divided into 3 sub-regions, Western, Central, and Eastern, each of them with their own season. Content villain. It's unplayable anyway, at least have the unplayable empty land have character. Totally agree. Totally agree. I'm still a little disappointed that it's not playable, but let's be honest, it's the right choice. I can be disappointed as a player, but still understand the choices that the developers made as developers. Current season, White Zood. Central Steppe, abundant grazing. Western Steppe, severe drought. Season ends. Next seasonal prediction, abundant grazing or severe drought. Season effects. Stargazer. Aptitude is average. Greatest herd of the steppe, Temujin, located in the east. Another very work in progress screenshot. Art pass pending, yes. Now we need equivalents for other lands, mountain hermits, and desert wanderers. True. Seasons affect the fertility of the subregion, as White Zood creates a thick layer of snow that prevents the animals from grazing, while a more moderate and warm weather offers the perfect climate for pasturing. This is not the only effect they have, though, as different seasons also change the general mood within nomads. If a ruler extorts their vassals for herd during an abundant grazing season, then they will receive more than usual, and a severe drought will promote characters to migrate even more than usual. The 2 special and rare seasons of Havasaren Zood and Blessing of the Blue Sky explore these effects even further, with the blessing aptly increasing the fertility of the subregion, and the terrible Zood allowing rulers to take a desperate stance, making all of their subjects obedient and gaining an invasion CB on settled people. One of the academic reasons for the Mongolian invasion is, after all, the lack of pasture within the steppe at that point in time. My music stop. YouTube. Rude. Your Stargazer can also help to predict the next season depending on their aptitude. More on this in the upcoming diaries. The Gurkhan. Only one character in the entire steppe can go to the highest level of dominance and become the greatest of Khans, but will provide you with tools to stop them. The Gurkhan is whoever has the largest herd within the Great Steppe. They're on their way to reach the highest dominance and are a threat to all. Confederations may form to target them, while hostile scheming and wars may target them more frequently, and the Gurkhan will have to prove that they deserve their seat. Sick. Love this. More ways to interfere with... I genuinely mean this positively. More ways to interfere with blobbing is very fun, always. Nomads have no buildings. Whatever they build is carried with them when they migrate. To represent this, nomadic holdings cannot have any other buildings than some basic corrals, but in turn they have access to new domicile type, the yurt settlement. Yurt settlements have a main yurt that can be upgraded internally, and several other specialized buildings that give access to pasture management, warfare, diplomacy, raiding, and more. Names and art are not final. Family yurt, hay storage, trade post, oval. Don't know. Not gonna be too focus on any of that. Move, refresh data. Settlement default. Okay. During this dev diary, you may have observed my careful use of subject instead of vassal. And here's the reason why. Tributaries are a new and looser type of subject introduced with this expansion. We're getting tributaries back. Let's go. Nomadic tributaries specifically have some unique qualities to them. The tributary contract governs the level of obligations or tribute that they may pay to their suzerain. While the tribute is being sent, all is well, and a truce is held between the two of them. The tributary relationship is even inherited across generations. However, tributaries may become unruly over time, and if the suzerain doesn't look that threatening to them, then they may eventually opt to stop paying tribute. To bring them back into the fold, this former suzerain can bring them back under tribute by force, pacifying them and extracting both resources and prestige to a greater extent. Nomadic tributaries offer a payment in herd, while settled tributaries give gold to their nomadic suzerains. Sick. No notes. This is sick. I mean, again, I'm going to have to see some of the details here, but I love this conceptually. Your tributary, realm size, his stats. These are his taxes, I assume. No money, herds. Tributaries can be obtained through a character interaction to demand tribute or through a CB. A ruler may also voluntarily offer themselves as tribute to a nomadic ruler to ensure their lands are spared from destruction. As with the other features covered in this dev diary, we'll do a deep dive on the tributary system at a later date. With the rise of all these powerful and dangerous khans in the steppe, lower-tier nomadic rulers may decide to band together against a bigger enemy through forming a confederation. For those in a confederation, an assault on one member is an affront against all members, so everyone in the confederation joins defensive wars being fought by fellow members. The potent defensive power is balanced against checks on expansion. As long as they belong to their confederation, members cannot increase their dominance or create new titles. Tributary is another thing required to implement China. True. Raid interests. Raiding is one of the main ways nomads have to gain access to gold. Given the importance that raiding had in their society, we've decided to expand this feature by adding raid intents. A raid intent allows to set the desired outcome of the raiding. You may want to raid to capture interesting characters, steal your neighbor's cattle, or simply burn their property to the ground. Raid for gold, raid to raise. Raid for servitors, raid for captives. Those are different. Interesting. Raid for innovations, or raid for herd. Huh. Raid for innovations. Our names are placeholders. Some of the raid attempts will also be available for tribal characters, while others need specific nomadic unlocks. Lastly, we're adding a number of new character interactions, decisions, activity types, and a new vassal stance, events, and more focused on unique nomadic flavor. Genghis Khan's famous storyline and Mongolian-specific events will, of course, also make an appearance. Expect to see a Kurultai, Blood Brotherhoods, Paisas, and Kublai Khan's famous Pleasure Dome. More on this to come. There are many things that we've left out of this diary because our focus is on the main mechanical features included with this expansion, but we'll come back to all of this in more detail in the future. I'm excited, y'all. I have some concerns about fertility. I think it's going to need to be carefully balanced. And there was another thing that I'm a little concerned about. And I don't remember. Maybe I'm just thinking about how I'm a little disappointed that we can't play as herds. I just think that's kind of interesting. Oh, obedience. Thank you. Yeah, I'm concerned about fertility, and I'm concerned about balancing for obedience. But at the end of the day, I think those are both balance issues, not conceptual issues. I said that word strange. I think they're balance issues, not conceptual issues. And this could be really exciting. I especially like the fact that you can be displaced as a nomad and just become a landless nomad, which is super neat, kind of a halfway between between landless administrative and landless adventurer. Obedience should be your honor range, but acting upon it should be a binary. Maybe I just wish there was a little more information on the binary of obedience, if that makes sense. Like, stress should lower your obedience threshold. True, I agree with that. I'm excited. I'm excited, y'all. Alright. I need to, whatever's going on with my throat, I need to clear that. And then, ads are actually coming up. This was a longer dev diary than I expected, so we're going to run ads, and then we're gonna get into actually playing some games. If you see this on YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, whatever, all that stuff you're supposed to do. I mean, you got this far, why are you not subbed? And stuff. Follow me on Twitch, join my Discord, yada yada yada. I'm going to end the recording here, and I will see you next time. For Twitch, we're going to keep going in just a sec after this ad break.